Good morning, everybody. Mrs. Wagner here, and I am going to go through the cell specialization or cell differentiation slide deck. You have some notes, so when you go into Google Classroom, and you will see these notes uploaded into Google Classroom. So you could split screen this video with your notes and add to your notes as you watch the video. So here we go. Okay, so cell specialization or cell differentiation. We have taken a look at how a chicken develops inside of an egg. We've looked at different types of organisms, either egg-laying organisms or mammals, and how they develop over time from being the embryo to full-grown development. And we see that they go from a single cell to multi-cell organism. Okay, so we're going to kind of go into how this happens and what the cells look like when they start to differentiate. Well, here we go. All right, so we're going to be able to give examples of specialized cells. We're going to talk about cells, tissues, organs, and systems, and give examples in humans and in plants. So what does it mean to be specialized? It means that it is something or someone that is designed to do a particular job. So we do have some different occupations here. We show police officer, we show an English judge. This would be somebody from England. They wear these kind of headgear on their heads. We have a farmer and we have a doctor. Okay, so all of these particular people are trained or specialized in what they do. And so they have particular training to become good at what they do. So our police officer is trained to be a police officer. He is specialized in that area, whereas a doctor might not have the same skill set as a police officer. So there you go. Other examples might be tools. So think about what you might use to saw wood with. You would use a saw, not a hammer, to cut wood. If you wanted to drill something into wood, you would use a drill, right? Instead of a saw. So tools are designed to perform different functions. So what is a specialized cell? What does it mean for a cell to be specialized? Very similar. A cell that has a special shape or features that help it do its job. So we see a whole bunch of different cells and tissue here in the plant, the roots, and they are designed in a way to be able to perform their function. So this is a red blood cell. We've got some roots. This is sperm cells. This is a nerve cell. So we'll kind of go into how they're specialized and what their functions are and why a blood cell might be shaped like this instead of like this, like a nerve cell. Okay? All right, so this is a video that you already saw. This was a chicken video, but we're going to watch it anyway, just in case you didn't catch that video in the last lesson. It's like 1 minute and 20 seconds. So here we go.
All vertebrates start the same way, as one fertilized egg cell. The egg will divide and form new cells. And these divide to form more cells over and over. At first, an embryo's development seems chaotic. It soon begins taking on exquisite order. Fields of cells fold and slide over each other.
So I'm just going to pause it here real quick. This reminds me of something that we saw in the gizmo, where we saw the cells develop around the edge and then fold up and bunch up at the top of the cell. So this is what it looks like in real life.
These cells are gathering in a long line and rolling into a tube. This is the beginning of a spinal cord. Cell differentiation has taken place. Other cells are becoming heart cells and are forming a primitive beating heart. Each cell is ordered by a genetic program to form organs, limbs, tissue, to construct a body plan. At these early stages of embryonic development, it's hard to tell whether this is a chick, a frog, or a human being. Here, bumps on the limb develop into feathers, and as the chick outgrows its space and food supply, it is time to hatch.
Okay. All right, here's another video.
In plants and animals, similar cells are grouped together to form tissues. The human body is made up of many different kinds of tissue. Groups of bone cells, for example, form bone tissue. And muscle cells form muscle tissue. The different types of cells that make up the tissues of the human body have distinctive architectures that are well suited for what they do. Take the cells that form the epidermis, the thin outer part of skin. The epidermis consists of several layers of cells that fit closely together. They provide an effective barrier against bacteria and other things that could cause harm if they got inside the body. The top layer consists of dead cells that are constantly being rubbed off and replaced by cells from below.
The muscles attached to the skeleton have cells that look very unlike skin cells. Muscle cells are very long and fiber-like. Each cell contains many fine threads called myofibrils. Myofibrils, in turn, contain two types of even smaller filaments called actin and myosin. A closer look at the actin and myosin shows how they can slide over each other, making it possible for a muscle cell to contract and expand. Thousands of muscle cells contract and expand together, making it possible to move an arm or leg. Bone cells serve a different function. Bone cells secrete calcium and other materials that harden and form the body's bones.
When we think or try to solve a problem, we're using other kinds of cells. Nerve cells, which are also called neurons. There are billions of neurons in the brain alone, and these can communicate with other nerve cells that branch throughout the body, forming the body's nervous system. The architecture of nerve cells varies according to what function they serve, but all have the same basic design. Each consists of a single cell body which contains the cell's nucleus. Branching out from the cell body are fibers of different lengths called dendrites. There is also a single long fiber called the axon. In some cells, the axon is very long, up to 3 feet. Signals race from the dendrite of one cell through the cell body and along the axon. At the end of the axon, the signal is picked up by the dendrite of another nerve cell. Together, the billions of nerve cells in the body form an intricate communications network that makes possible our thoughts and senses.
A drop of blood tells another story about cells. The blood that flows through the veins and arteries of the body's circulatory system contains different kinds of cells that perform jobs vital to our existence. Red blood cells are the most numerous. They look a little like donuts with their centers filled in. Red blood cells carry oxygen from the lungs to other cells throughout the body. There are about 25 trillion red blood cells in the body of an adult. Each has a lifespan of only about 125 days, so new ones are constantly being produced at the rate of about 2 million a second. Blood also contains white blood cells. Although much fewer in number, white blood cells are important defenders of the body against invaders like disease-causing bacteria. Some white blood cells can actually engulf bacteria and other harmful things, making them harmless by eating them.
All right. We're going to try to... There we go. Okay, so red blood cells, they talked about that in the video. Their structure, they have a big surface area that contains hemoglobin, which picks up oxygen. So they are largely shaped like that with a large surface area, so they can carry as much oxygen as possible because they carry the oxygen around and drop it off to the cells of your body. Nerve cells, their structures are long. They can carry electrical impulses. The connections at each end attach to one another, so the signal can go from one nerve cell to another. They carry the nerve impulses around your body. Sperm cells, they have a long tail for swimming. Chemicals in the head to get through the egg. So only one sperm can get into the egg, but there are these little chemicals that kind of let the egg know, hey, I'm here and I need to go inside. The function is to carry genetic information to the egg. Root hair cells in the plants. Large surface area to hold water and minerals. So that's what we can see down here. So it can hold a lot of water and a lot of minerals. This is designed to absorb minerals and water from soil. And then we have just a picture of all four. And even more specialized cells are muscle cells, white blood cells, ovum, which is the egg cell. So to talk about the sperm cell, this is the egg cell, and a fat cell. So the fat cell has a fat reservoir and a nucleus. Interesting about a fat cell. So the fat cell has the ability to get bigger because it's storing energy. So all of that in there is energy that your body can use during times where you're not fueling your body. Your body will tap into its fat cells, but they can shrink. So if you are using up more energy in your body than you're replenishing, then your fat cells will shrink. You don't gain fat cells or lose fat cells. All they do is they grow big or they shrink. A plant is a leaf palisade cell. So this is a plant cell. It contains chloroplast. Notice it's green. And so it is designed to take in energy from the sun and turn carbon dioxide and water into energy for itself. And it stores that extra energy that it doesn't use into food that we can eat, like apples and carrots and cucumbers and delicious vegetables and fruit. These are guard cells. They're found in the leaf and they're kind of on in between each of the little cells, as you can see there. They open and close like a mouth, and it allows water to leave the plant cell, or it closes up to prevent water loss. So it's like a little mouth that allows water vapor to pass in and out of it. And then epidermal cell is the outer skin of the leaf. So this has been dyed, but we can see that this is the skin of the leaf. It's got the outer membrane. We have what's called a nucleus in there. So we've seen a lot of those little red dots in a lot of the cells that we've seen, the liver, the blood cells of chickens. We've seen this in bone cells and muscle cells. So we'll talk about this nucleus and the function of this nucleus when we start to really talk about the parts of a cell. All right, so now that we've talked about the cell, we can start to talk about what they make up. So cells make up tissues, tissues make up organs, and organs make up the organ systems. So this is Just a little slide to say, hey, we're not talking about these tissues. We're not talking about these organs. We're not talking about computer systems. We're talking about animals and plants. So what are the tissues and the organs in the systems that we're talking about? Okay, so let's first look at a plant. So we saw the root cell with the little hair, which had the large surface area to hold water, pulls in water and nutrients. Those cells all build up like Legos and make up root tissue, which then makes up the roots of the plant, which are considered an organ. And they make up a root system. So cells make up tissues, the tissues make up the organs, and the organs make up the system. In animals, we have red blood cells that make up our blood vessels, our veins, and our arteries. That, combined with some muscle tissue, make up our heart. So your heart is not just made up of red blood cells. So just want to make that clear. Your heart is made up of different kinds of tissue. Muscle tissue is included in that as well. But all of your organs that include your heart and your arteries and your veins, they all make up your blood circulation system. Okay, and that travels through your whole entire body. Heart being the main organ of that. Okay, that looks like that's it. So in your notes, hopefully you were able to fill out and find the information from the slide deck plus the video and the YouTube video. And then we have the types of cells that we just went through.